everyone. Thanks for joining AM Healing My Soul TV. I'm Vicki McClifty, and today I'm speaking with Stephanie Harris, who is a growth coach and bodywork therapist. She specialises in grief management and recovery. Stephanie is also an author, and her book is titled Death Expands Us, which shares her personal grief experiences and offers helpful strategies and guidance to enable us to grow through our grief and emerge stronger. So welcome today, Stephanie. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Vicki. It's wonderful to be here with you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I read your book and it's just been, I really resonated with your book, having gone down that path myself, and losing someone really close is such a hard journey for us all. Can you share with us what your journey has been, Stephanie?
Absolutely. So 2009, I'd been in New Zealand for 2 years. I'm originally from South Africa. And, as any Sunday evening, I had a phone call with my mother back in South Africa. And, she mentioned that my brother was unwell on his business trip and that he was in hospital. And I think due to the language barrier, they said gastro instead of gastric. So to us, we just thought perhaps he'd been unwell while traveling, because he traveled a lot for work. And then, I went to bed as normal, and about 3 a.m. that morning, I got a call. And as soon as I heard the phone ring, just something inside of me knew. I just had this voice in my head that said Brendan was dead. And when I picked up the phone and I heard my sister's voice, I just knew, but I almost couldn't get the words out of my mouth. And that's just when, my life literally changed and turned upside down. My brother was 33 years old. I was 27 at the time and seemingly healthy. He went on a business trip like normal, and then he was no longer here. And it's just a really, really crazy time. I mean, I flew from New Zealand. My sister flew from England, and we sort of collected his belongings and his body and flew back to South Africa for his funeral. And it was just 2 weeks of craziness.
And your book describes your journey through that grief, and that's it's such a hard journey to lose someone that you were so close to. I read after he died, you mentioned that you endured anguish and isolation so acute that at times I swore I could not live through it, but I did live through it, and now I've come to write this book for anyone else who has known this desperation and for the person I was when I needed it most. So did you find that there was a lack of support too when you actually were going through the early stages of grief?
Definitely. I mean, I don't think it was intentional that people started to move away from myself. And I know it's something you and I have discussed, and, my clients often mention that we do experience almost like people move away from us. And I don't think it's always intentional. I think often people are just afraid and they don't know what to say, or they don't know how to help us. And I think sometimes instinctively as humans, we feel like avoiding something's easier. But I think very well, like I do, at a time like that, avoidance doesn't help anyone.
No, it doesn't, because you feel so isolated, don't you? Yeah.
And it becomes hard because then you just spend more time with yourself, and the thoughts just keep going around in your head, and it's almost like that downward spiral. So at least, if people are engaging and interacting with you, it can help you get whatever's in here out, and just a bit more perspective and in reality than kind of being isolated and alone.
Yeah. So what was it like for you, like the early stages of grief, and was there what was it like for you?
I think for me in the beginning, because everything was just so crazy, flying to Buenos Aires and flying to South Africa, and it was all just these preparations and getting through stuff. So I don't think it really hit me then. I think when it hit me the most was when I came back to Auckland, New Zealand. And it almost felt like I had stood still in time, and everyone around me had carried on. And that was probably the hardest for me, and when things really hit me, because I didn't feel the same and life didn't look or feel the same to me, yet everything around me was happening as it was before. And I just felt so out of place and so lost, because I'm like, I'm different. Life looks different to me, yet everything around me is happening as it always did.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know how to function in that anymore, because I was different.
Yeah. Did you find that you hit rock bottom before you could actually get back up again?
Well, for myself, there was a few years where I just had a lot of really big stuff happening. 6 months after my brother died, my partner was with someone else and I had to move out. And, then my sister almost died having my niece. And it was a time period of just these massive things that were being thrown at me, not things that I could control or that I'd sort of created. And, for me, that was when I reached my low point, because it just felt like, I'd already had this one massive trauma to then keep having more.
Yeah.
It just, even the slightest thing felt overwhelming. And there were days where I'd cry because I didn't want to wake up, and, I just wanted it all to end, and I didn't want to be in pain all the time. So, yeah.
Was there a point that you came to in your life where you realised that you had to do something, you had to choose how you lived your life?
Absolutely. Similar to the quote in my book from Shawshank Redemption, where it says, either we get busy living or we get busy dying.
Yeah.
And I think when I reached my lowest point where I didn't want to get out of bed, I just, I'd get up, go to work, come home, feed my dog, go to bed. I was not living. And I think I just got to a point where I knew that I couldn't carry on like that. I was just in this in-between zombie land, smiling every day, pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. And I just think something inside of me knew I had to make a choice, because I just couldn't keep on going like that. And effectively, it was 2 deaths.
Yeah.
I pretty much died along with him, and I was just still physically here. So.
No, can't believe it. Oh, dear. The good old phone.
I was so worried that was going to happen to me.
I can't believe it. Oh, well, sorry about that, people. Maybe I can cut that bit out. I don't know.
We're just keeping it real. Just keeping it real.
The choice of technology and everything. But anyway, sorry, where were we? Now I'm forgetting.
I think I was just saying that, something inside of me knew I had to make a choice, that it was just not possible to keep going on like that anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that point in my own journey where, you realise that you either have it in you to fight or not, I think, and what have you got to live for? And you start searching, what is it in your life that and for me it was my children and my husband. That kept me going. And so I knew that I had to be strong in order to keep on going, and I could see everyone else was, moving on with their life, but I felt left behind. So it's an awful place to be in, but sometimes you have to get to that point before you actually start doing something more meaningful in your life too.
I think that's why I often use the word choice in my book, because ultimately it is, as low as I was, I knew that it was only me that could get me out of that place, no one else. And it is a choice that, like you're saying, looking for the good and choosing to keep focusing on that good, no matter how much some days you have to dig really deep to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So with your business now, Stephanie, how are you helping people cope with grief?
Lots of different forms. I mean, my book is one method. It's a great way to reach a lot of different people around the world. And I've had some beautiful feedback in that, they find it useful on many levels, not just the loss of someone or death, and grief of losing a relationship or, a job or finances, that there were a lot of practical things that people could take from that.
Yeah.
The other one is I see clients here at my house. So I either do the one-on-one coaching sessions, or I have these 2-hour sessions where I begin with full body massage and then progress onto the actual coaching side of the session. And I also do quite a bit of volunteer work as well.
So with the massage, can you recognise the symptoms with people, like the physical symptoms, as to what when they're going through grief? Is there a certain way that they hold themselves and things?
I've definitely noticed some similarities. The one thing that comes up every time without fail is when I ask people, is there an area you want to focus on? They always say their back. Mm-hmm. It's almost that sense of the world on your back. And sometimes I've even seen it when they're physically laying down, the one side versus the other side of their back is just, and it's like concrete. It's, you can really just feel it in their body. And then other times I've met people where their hair's falling out or they have major skin rashes going on, just from the extreme stress and being run down, you can physically see it on the body.
Yeah, and maybe they don't realise it at the time either because they're going through such, the darkest place with grief that they're unaware of the symptoms in their own body because, as you mentioned in your book, it's not just emotional, it is physical as well, the grief.
And that's why I incorporate the massage, because I know for me, I spent years doing all this self-development, self-growth, and, my head and my emotional state was moving to a better space. But yet when I'd try and go do yoga, I felt like I was 100 years old. I mean, I could barely move into the positions. And I think it really helped me realize how much our physical bodies take a toll during that stressful time and the miracle of how we can still keep it together with how much our body has to go through. I mean, in those initial stages, we don't sleep, we don't eat, there's just a lot going on for us. So, for me, it was really important to incorporate that side of it too.
Yeah, it's very important, isn't it? Because, I know how I am on days when I have low days because we still, I'd imagine you still have your low days and we still have my low days. It's not like you get over grief. You don't get over the loss of someone.
We're not immune to sadness or missing a person or...
Yeah, but I always find getting out and exercising helps me, if I go for a walk or, just doing something for myself. And I think that I know you mentioned that in your book. One of the tools for helping you with grief, coping with grief, is to pamper yourself too. Just to put yourself first instead of not thinking about yourself. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've noticed in my clients and at the volunteer days. When I start massaging people, it's almost like you can just see their whole body relaxing.
Yeah.
I think once you start feeling that physical touch and feeling your body being loved and looked after, it almost feels like that weight of the world is removed. I've just seen it in people in these sessions. It's almost just like their whole body drops because it's how important it is for us to take care of ourselves during that time because...
Relax, just talking to you.
Because, I think when you just in that mode of got to sort the funeral, got to sort the will, got to sort their bedroom or their office, or I think you just go. And for some reason, our body is always the last that we think about until it stops functioning.
Yeah, well, I was like that before my grief. I don't know what you were like. I was supercharged in running after the kids and doing everything and didn't think of myself. And I always looked now at my life of before my loss, before my son Adam passed, and after my son Adam passed. Yeah.
I think for me, I'm just so much more mindful with everything in terms of what I do for myself, the people I spend my time and my energy with, what I do for a career as such. It's totally different because, I was 27, he was 33. It really made me evaluate our time here is limited and we don't know when it will change. And I want to live every day with what makes me happy. Not like before where you kind of just plod along and go with whatever came up. Whereas now I'm a lot more deliberate about doing what creates the life that I want.
Yeah. Very important. Yeah. We're getting some feedback.
Yeah, I heard that.
I don't know. The joys of computer technology, I think that it's settled itself again now, so I can't hear myself talking whilst I'm talking, which is really weird.
I was going to say, unfortunately, I'm not very good with technology, so I'll just go with the flow.
Yeah, that's all you can do. So what sort of, like have you had people come to you that have suffered depression and suicidal thoughts? Like, yeah.
Absolutely. Some very serious cases, to say as such. I think for me, one of the biggest things that I found when I did coaching for myself with someone else is having a space where you can be 100% honest with yourself and know you're not going to be judged. Because I think with the way life and society is now, what we project to the world versus what's often happening inside can be very different. And I think for those clients, for me, it's very important that they know they're in a space where I'm not going to judge them and that it's safe, that they can say anything. Because I think often when we verbalize the truth to ourselves, that in itself can create so much clarity and a shift anyway. So for the first time in your life to just be honest and really just say what's going on inside. Like, yep, today I really don't want to get out of the bed and I feel terrible that I feel that way, but that's how I feel. And just having a space where you can just be honest and not have to smile and pretend like everything's great.
Yeah, and I think that's been the case with society, hasn't it? With, that you put on a brave front and you try and get over things quickly, or you appear to get over things quickly because people expect everyone just to, move on.
I mean, I'm not sure for you, but in the 10 years I've been in New Zealand, I've experienced the culture of she'll be all right, like just smiling and carrying on and not actually facing up to what's going on for us. And, as I've written in my book, there's only so long you can push a balloon underwater. We may think that it's great to just smile and pretend and carry on, but I've never seen someone that successfully kept that hidden forever. There's always a way where it's going to come up. If it's not physical illnesses, it'll be, mental thought pattern related. I just think it's so important to discuss it in some way or form.
Extremely, extremely important. I like when you say in your book too that feeling sad isn't bad, like giving yourself permission.
Like you said, I mean, I grew up in South Africa where at times it was, quite a strict and not so formal, but, staunch kind of upbringing. And, there were times where I'd hear people say to little boys, you're a boy, don't cry, even when they're 3 or 4 years old. So I think we just get conditioned that you can't show those emotions and that perhaps it's a sign of weakness, especially for men. Or, there's so many different associations to it. Whereas for me, what's so wrong with crying? For me, I think it shows that we're human and that we're still vulnerable and susceptible to pain and hurt. And, there's times where I have what I call happy tears, if I watch a movie and there's something wonderful, and for me, I think a lot of people, when they cry, it's just such a massive release, especially on that physical level, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
The body going, I don't have to carry this all the time. It's okay to let it go. I don't have to hold on to it.
Do you find that your clients, when you're taking them through a massage, do they sometimes cry? Is there a release? Have you had that?
Often, and very quickly into it, even nosebleeds, you name it, just the physical body just literally letting go.
It's really incredible, isn't it? Just the touch of what someone can do, just, that's what we all crave. We crave that in our lives as humans. And having that isolation in communities, which seems to be happening these days, where we're not having that contact with people. There's so much to be said for bringing back that communal spirit, I think, that we're all here for each other.
For me, I think when someone puts their hand on your shoulder or gives you a hug, it's that unspoken language of, I get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it. You know, just that affirmation that you're not the only one going through it. You're not the only one suffering. That on that deeper level, we're all going to have to go through it at some point.
Yeah.
That someone else understands how you're feeling.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it's a lot of people don't know, as you said before, they don't know what to say to you when you're going through something like this. And they don't have to say anything. As you said, it's just a case of giving you a hug and just sitting with you.
Well, you know, after my last conversation with you, I wrote a blog about it because it seemed to be something that was coming up with a lot of people. And, you know, like we were saying before, we often think it has to be these big gestures. Whereas often just saying, you know, I'd like to come visit you, we don't need to say anything. I'm happy to just sit and read a book or watch a movie with you. You know, I think often we feel that pressure that we have to keep saying something, or we have to keep having the answers, or to make them feel better, but we don't. You know, we don't have to solve everything. You know, just sitting there with them, I think we can feel that, you know, this person's here, they care about me. You know, we don't need to say anything. That feeling of I'm not alone, they're here.
Yeah, and it's a time factor too. And I think that where people have got it wrong these days is that they're like everyone is upon you when you're going through the early stages, but then they all move on with their life, and they're going off, and you're stuck where you are, and you can't go any further. And that's when you feel totally isolated, because they forget about you, because they're doing their thing.
Yeah.
You're doing your, like, you know, it's like they're not around anymore for you. Yeah.
You know, especially when you approach special occasions, like the first birthday, the first Christmas.
Tough.
You know, like you were saying, everyone else's life is carrying on, but for us, we know that's coming.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be like a new level of pain, a new level of sadness all over again.
Yeah, and you have to plan it, don't you? You, like now, even now, and it's nearly 5 years for me since I lost Adam, I still have to plan those special days, thinking, okay, what can I do that's going to make it better for me? You know, so we'll get out old videos, or we'll do something and make his favourite food, or, you know, for his birthday I would make his favourite food, so we'd all eat junk because we like junk food. Or chocolate muffins, you know. I can remember one birthday where I made all these chocolate muffins, and we sat and ate these chocolate muffins that were his favourite. But it made me feel better, and I felt like he was a part of it, the celebrations, you know.
And that's what I wrote about in my book. I think, you know, sometimes when people die, we feel like we have to be serious or sad all the time. And no, we don't. You know, like the day after my brother's funeral, he loved KFC. So we all went along to the KFC on the beachfront and sat eating this greasy KFC. And, you know, we laughed and we joked about like some of the crazy things he do sometimes. And I think it's important to remind ourselves we don't have to be serious and sad all the time, that it's okay to laugh and to remember those quirky things about them. You know, my brother liked to look good and to present himself well. So when my sister and I went in to see his body before the funeral, we just started laughing, and we're like, man, he would hate how the funeral directors did his hair. We totally should have brought a hair straightener with. And it was just such a relief to have that laugh in that insane moment of looking at our brother dead in this coffin. Just that humanity of like, this is so ridiculous, we actually just have to laugh because we can't cry all the time. So
that's right. And I mean, when you see them too, they don't look like they were. So you know that their soul has moved on, and I think that is a comfort. And it's like a shell of a person that's there, and it's a weird sort of sensation. But you're right, you have to laugh, and you shouldn't feel guilty. You know, like I mean, we would often watch some of his favourite shows and have a laugh, or I mean, we still do. You know, because he was a real jokester. He loved having a laugh, and I know that he would be upset, as would your brother be upset, if you wasted your life being miserable.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. It's those misconceptions of what we should be and what we should act like when someone's dead. And I think sometimes they're a little bit outdated and they don't serve everyone.
No.
I think, you know, when it comes to his birthday, I don't want to just gather with people and relive his death. I want to celebrate and do something beautiful and happy. It doesn't always have to be a reliving of that pain that we went through.
That's right. It's very important, and you know that they're there at those special occasions too. I don't know what you do, but I tend to set a chair and a spot on at the table at Christmas or at his birthday and that, and I've always got his place set for him. Maybe a beer and his chocolate. He has trouble having those, but that's I'll still put it there. We eat it.
I'm pretty sure he'd be grateful.
But it makes it, they're still there because they were with you, they were sharing your life for such a long period of time, and your brother sounded like he was an amazing, amazing man. And, you can't just, I don't understand why people forget talking about them, because it's so important to talk about it. And I think, it's not like they were never here. They were here. Yeah.
I think it's that fine line of not staying stuck in it, but also still remembering them, like you're saying, not pretending like they were never there. Because, I think there can be a very fine line of some people that like to then stay stuck in that and keep reliving the death, versus we can still carry on, but we can still remember them and honor them.
Yes.
I think one of the best things that was ever said to me, after he died, his company paid for all of us to go see a counsellor. And one of the things she said to me really stood out for me, in that it's also the loss of potential. Like one day when I get married or when I have children, he loved children. So, and that's why I don't use the word closure in my book. I say coming to a place of peace and freedom, because there's always going to be those reminders, and I don't feel like it's ever going to be closed, because they were part of our life and who we are.
Yeah, well, I've experienced it with his friends that have had weddings, that, got married and had children, and it's that, oh, wow, that could have been him, and he's not doing any of that. And people forget that, that he was here and he's not able to do that with us here. So it is hard, because you've lost something, that a future for that person.
And you'll be thinking, oh, I wonder who he would have married and what kind of children he had. So it's...
Yeah.
I guess in a way, the not knowing, just trying to get to a place of peace of not knowing what could have been.
Yeah. No, it's certainly an experience for everyone, when they go through something like this. And I think, though, if we embrace what's happened in our lives, and I make it a mission now to carry through with what. Like my son, he was always in pursuit of happiness. He had a tattoo. I actually went and had a tattoo, actually. It was the first thing I thought. I don't know why it went in my head. Maybe he put it there, but the night he passed, I was in the car going home. I thought, now I'm going to have to get a tattoo, because I was always against his tattoos, You got one. Mine I won't show because I have to lift up my jumper.
And that's why I wrote about it in my book, because so many people I've come across, we tend to get tattoos when someone we love passes away. And, there was a lot of research we looked into when we wrote about this in my book, and I knew that it could be one of those subjects that could be quite tricky to put in the book, because, for me, when I thought about it, I was like, why did I get this tattoo of his initials? Like, what was my motivation at the time? And something just came to me of, it's a form of pain we can control. When someone dies, we can't control that pain. It's really unbearable. Whereas to get the tattoo, it's our choice, and we're controlling that pain, as in we chose that pain. And so there was a lot of studies around that. I didn't include all of it in my book, but I just wanted to put it there for people to think about. Like, so many people I've seen, we have it on our wrist. So I kind of just started to wonder, why do we get it, and why on certain places? And it just really set my mind into thought, and that's kind of what I wanted to present in my book. I want people to think for themselves of like, oh, I did get a tattoo as well. Why did I get that? And just be open to exploring it for themselves.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got mine on my stomach, on my tattoo, like on my abdomen. So not abdomen, my lower. So where he would have been when I was expecting him, no doubt. I never thought of it at the time, but that's probably why I actually had it there. And I can remember lying on the table in the tattoo parlour, and my son, one of my other sons, came with me, and he had a tattoo all across his ribs. So his was really quite painful. But he said to me, "You know, Mum, I'm never going to get over seeing you lying on the tattoo on the bed in the tattoo having a tattoo, because it was so not me up until that point, and yet it was the first thing that came into my mind, which is really bizarre."
Well, it was the same for me. I mean, it was never, like, tattoos were never something that kind of just, sprung to me until that point. And, when I really began to think about mine, it came to me, I think I got mine on my wrist because that's where we have a pulse.
Yeah.
And perhaps subconsciously it was my way of trying to keep him alive by having it right on my pulse. So.
That's really nice, thinking it that way too. That's lovely. I remember seeing that in your book, and so you mentioned in your book too about how to navigate your feelings, and different processes that you can do. And I know meditation was one of them. Do you meditate regularly yourself, Stephanie?
I try. I mean, life happens. Sometimes things are crazy, like with doing my book recently. I've just been really busy. But I think for me, it's just more that being mindful to take silent time. Life can get busy and it can be noisy. And I think it's just really important to take some time for ourselves to just be silent and to hear what's going on inside of us. Because when we're busy, it's easier to bypass that. Whereas I think just taking time for yourself to be silent, you can hear what's going on inside, and you can hear what you're needing in that particular time to help yourself and to bring yourself towards more peace and freedom.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. So have you, as a takeaway, Stephanie, have you got something that you'd like to share with people that are going through the early stages of grief at the moment, or even any stage of grief?
I think one of the most important things for me, because I experienced it, is, especially in the beginning, we feel like we're the only ones going through it, and we're the only ones feeling that way. So I want people that are watching this to know that you're not alone, and that there are people like yourself and me that are out there that very much understand and who have been through it, and that what you're feeling is normal and okay, and you don't have to judge yourself for the way you feel, because we've all been there at some point. And to reach out for the help and support, that we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to hide. It doesn't make us weak. It doesn't make us anything. We're just human beings wanting someone else to relate to that speaks our grief language, because until you've been through it, it's a specific kind of language that not everyone understands. And I just think, don't be afraid to look for the help and the support that you need.
Yeah, and I think people will respect you more for doing that too, because they'll then understand what you're going through, and they will be able to help. Because if we turn them away, then you can build resentment towards others, because they're not there helping you, but you're turning them away. So how can they help you? Because they think you're okay. Yeah.
And I think also it's that thing of, you can't pour from an empty cup. If we're just going to carry on and pretending like nothing's happening, we're not serving ourselves, and we're not serving anyone around us, like you said before. So for me, I always try to encourage people, just be honest. If you have friends that want to come see you, just say to them, can I let you know on the day? Because some days I just don't feel up to anything, and I just don't have the energy other than to hold myself upright. Because I think if you're just honest with people, they'll know exactly where they stand, and they know exactly how they can support and help you. Because if you're not saying anything, not many of us are psychic. We can't tell what the other person's needing or wanting. And, when you love someone, you want to help them, and you want to do it with what's going to serve them best. But we're not mind readers, so just be honest. If my friend said to me, like, today I'm just not feeling it, can we reschedule? I would have no problem at all, because I know what it's like to be at that point. So I think honesty really does help.
It does. I really feel privileged and honoured to have been able to listen to your story and share this moment with you, Stephanie. It's been really wonderful speaking with you.
Well, I was going to say, looking at your son Adam's photo behind you, it's given me goosebumps the entire talk. So I'm extremely grateful to be here with you as well, because more people like us that are out there trying to help and support others, it will make a difference. So
yeah, it's very important. At least they know that we're here. Hopefully they'll find out. But so if someone wants to contact you, Stephanie, what is the best way of them contacting you?
Probably to go to my website, so stephanieharriscoaching.com, because on there's contact forms, there's my email, there's my Skype. There's also the option to purchase my book on my website, and lots of different information. Like I try and do weekly blogs. There's all my radio and TV interviews around my book. So there's a lot of useful information on there.
Busy lady, but doing really great things in the world now in particular.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Stephanie, and to all you viewers out there. I really hope that this helps in some way, and I'll put all of Stephanie's contact details up on the website. So thanks very much today, and until next time, bye now.